Hello, my dear ones. How are you today? Well, this is Tuesday morning, and Saturday is the first day of fall. I can't wait. It's so hot down here. Not temperature-wise, really. 92, it was 95, but humidity is so high here that you'd walk outside and sweat. So for you non-sweaters, come to Florida, baby. It'll open you up. Well, I'm just going to continue down the road of Q&A and hope that anyone that is in trouble, don't wait till I get to your case to read it, please. Get help. We've had a lot of Facebook sites. There's a lot of individuals in this world that have taken on these programs and helped. But when I say program, sometimes I get a little like, it's not really a program. It's what you would be doing in nature. You know, I hate to set it out like it's its own modality, and this is a certain theories and stuff like that, because this isn't. This is nature. This is chemistry. This is physics. This is how things happen. No labels. No nothing. Detoxification is a word that nature uses to cure itself, to clean itself, because it's always that back and forth between chemistry. And the movement of chemistry always causes all types of offshoots of chemistry. You know, byproducts, energetic products. And all kinds of things happen when energy is moving, right? So that's all you have to understand, is that as the waxing and waning of chemistry takes place, symptomology exists on each side of chemistry. Alkaline chemistry has a certain effect. Acid chemistry has a certain effect. They're not going to be the same because they're opposites. Nature runs by opposites in direct relationship with each other, which creates magnetism. Remember, opposites attract. That's a problem in relationships. You know, you get a relationship and it's like, oh, she or he thinks the opposite I do. But those type of relationships are tough, but they build you. They give you what you need, whether to see what you don't want or what you need to take on. Sometimes we see in others the very things we need ourselves or need to learn about, you know. That's all life is. You know, when man gets into the mind and uses labels and they label the symptomology and diseases, you start pulling away from reality, from truth. And the mind likes to categorize, label, that sort of thing. So we have libraries. And it's vital that happen because we have languages and we have communication skills. But when you look at humans, they only have a few languages. When you get out, there's no beginning nor end to creation. So you might be speaking English, let's say, in this lifetime, and next lifetime, doubt it. It might not even be on this planet next lifetime. You never know where you're going. Unless you start becoming awake, then you're going to know where you're going. And that's the whole point of waking up. The whole point of getting out of your mind is to become awake again. So truth begins to move you instead of the illusion. And that's what you guys are learning. You're learning the truth of chemistry and how it affects you. Might not like it. You know, I had a nice gentleman in here, Louis from Dubai. Family is the largest bakers in the world, I think. And Louis is a very large fellow, super nice fellow. And he said his brother's 3 times his size or something really huge. And now we get into the starches, the complex sugars of life. But we also can flip over to the complex proteins. You've got all your athletes, bodybuilders, all that, lost in that world. Then you have the others, the bakery sides. You have all the pasta sides and stuff. That's a neat world. I was telling him, you know, if I had to die, I'd be creme brulee or...
Can I pause you?
Huh?
Somebody would like to say hello.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. We have people come from all around the world. It's kind of fun, isn't it? You guys are the sweetest, nicest people I've ever met. Every one of you that come in here, I just love to give you a big hug because you're all so great. It's fun working on the positive side and on the healing side, isn't it? I mean, because it is. The negative, we've got to overcome that. And when you're playing in positive and negative, both. Positive is also in duality. So, but better be on the positive side, I would say. But you're still in duality on each side. So it's better to be in the middle. What was that? The Buddha was the middle road, the middle path, if I remember right. All right. All right, this is Greetings from Germany. Thank you very much for helping us and telling the truth about the causes of diseases in our body. Yes! And this guy brings up, is this a name? Hazel. Got to be a lady. We need to have a big bonfire. A great big bonfire. You know, like Burning Man or whatever. It's a huge bonfire. And in that bonfire, we throw the word, the concept, and the illusionary theory of diseases. Throw it and burn it. Because we stand for truth. The truth is, this world is ran by consciousness, a conscious awareness. There's an awareness that runs through everything. And chemistry duality runs. You have two sides. If you don't have two sides to something, you can't have form, you can't have separation, you can't have differences, you can't have any activity because everything is static, because everything's the one. If it's not the two, it's the one. So the one means that everything is tied to that one, and very difficult for the mind to perceive what an intelligence would be that has no beginning or end to it. There's no borders to intelligence and to consciousness. There's no, it's over there. There's none of that. Because it is in the world of freedom, in the world of omnipresence, omnipotent, and omniscient. It's in the world of the all. So it's difficult for the mind. So if you want to understand God, you can't understand God through your mind. Now, you could use your mind to recondition yourself. But you are the awareness that runs your physical body. And I think the important thing is that one has to separate themselves from their physical bodies. You're just using this thing. So whatever you got in genetics and all that, you're just using it. And some of you have to fix up your vehicle before you can drive around and have fun here. And it's all karmatically tied, interestingly enough. The nice thing about it is, for you guys that are hooking to us, is you're learning how to get rid of your karma. You're learning how to get rid of those things that you're experiencing and not creating more. It's hard to also conceive the fact that everything you're experiencing, you created. Maybe not right yesterday or the day before, but somewhere in your journey, you've created the energy that's coming back to you, because everything is simple. When you get rid of the labels and everything else, science is simply cause and effect. Simply cause and effect. And that cause and effect in the physical world bumps on chemistry. And then into pHs, and then into all ionizations, and all kinds of how life moves magnetically. How energy moves magnetically. And you get into the subatomic particles of electrons and protons, and electrons orbiting around the protons. And when you bring in an acid or an alkali, the homeostatic laws where electrons are pulled into the orbits of the protons, bringing them more into neutralizing them, bringing them more into balance. And you could say that you have stabilization when you get into compounds and that sort of thing, of course. So there's all kinds of forces to play. Your zeta potentials, your, what did they call those? The, something forces. But, you know, it's just, there's all kinds of energies at play in keeping things stable at that level. So there's no way the mind, not the brain, the mind, which created creation, can even understand the all of it itself. So it's just amazing. The only place you start to tap into that is the higher mind, and that's called cosmic consciousness. Holmes wrote volumes, I think, on the universal mind. How your mind and my mind all come from one mind. That way we can think alike. Remember, a lot of times when you're with someone long enough, you guys think a lot alike, and you make something, I was just thinking that, or you say things at the same time, or the Wright brothers are flying an airplane in this country where Jenner is it, or whoever flew it in Europe. So it's interesting when you realize that, and someone mentioned the word loneliness on the last video, and I'm going, oh, this is true. That alone exists. When you get back into that which is consciousness, there's only the one. And it's an extreme alone state which translates into awareness. Hard to explain it. You can only experience it. Outside of that, then, the dictates of duality. So when you see a symptom, you have to look at the dictates of duality, whether it's a mental symptom, an emotional symptom, or a physical symptom. All our bodies that we use to experience outside of this consciousness, outside of this one, to experience separation and where we can have fun together, even though we come from the same source, we forget that. So everybody sees things as totally distinctly different than themselves, and they are in structure. But the awareness behind the structure comes from the one, which is you. Oh, and me too. Oh, and them too. Difficult for the mind to understand these words. So this is why you can't use the mind to understand spirituality. You must simply be spirituality. If you want to know God, it is simple. You be God. Use the Sufi concept of God absorption. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to take off on that. I know you talked about this topic a lot, and I watched every single video of yours, but I want to know a few things. It's about my acne. Excuse me. Man, I had some good pineapple this morning. Pull it right out. Woo! Oh, we don't have no good fruit down here right now. We have no good fruit down here right now. It's sad. It's about my acne I got a year ago. It just came one day and never stopped. When I thought about it a lot, what could be caused, I find out actually I got the acne right after I had sex the first time. Oh, but why? Can you maybe tell me? Well, you notice that there are certain hormones, or we can call them properly steroids, testosterone and estrogen. They're both acidic. And, you know, sometimes when you get those things going, it can stimulate skin problems. I mean, look at the women who have an outbreak during their periods. When estrogen goes up, that's acidic. So it increases their acidosis. Well, if you have lymphatic stagnation subcutaneously, guess what you're going to see? You know, acid stimulates. So your minor acids are very beneficial because they stimulate things. Moisture for the females, things like this. So they're very, very beneficial acids, no question. It's just when we start getting down into the hotter acids, it's not no fun, like the 3 pH acids that everybody's feeling when you have arthritis and all that. Gout, which I think is a hotter acid than Coke. I think uric acid is probably around 2.5. Well, look at your hydrochloric acid is a little around 2 or a little lower. I mean, you're starting to get into some real hot stuff here. And of course, when you get into the word atypical, or they use the word cancer for it, which is just their way of lying to you, but it's just a word for a very damaged, mutated cell that you can't bring back anymore. You know, there's a certain point a cell reaches, becomes atypical, means it's changing. Well, what could change? If I'm a cell and I'm getting good nutrition, everything's good, I'm eliminating my waste good, what would change me? What would hurt me? What would affect my quality of function and structure? That's what cells are. Cells are structure, function in your body. The fluids around them only take care, remember the interstitial spaces around every cell. Of course, you've got to get to them. You've got to get to the cell. How else do you get to a cell? In terms of blood or any other way you want to get to a cell, even with botanicals. You've got spaces between all the cells. The new organ of the human body, the spaces around the cells. So that can bring it on as well. But it's enough to say that if you see any expression, and this is also you guys with the fruit. Oh, I started eating fruit and then I started having these symptoms. Oh no. What you have to understand is the problem already exists. No problem, no symptom. So the problem already exists inside of you, my dear one. And that means your lymph is backed up in the skin. I'll say this, that if you look at your eye and you look at the skin ring, where you see the darkest and the biggest parts, that's where you're going to see the weakest areas. And you can also see the lymph system in the eye, which we're going to have fun. Class is coming, guys. Fun stuff. And we'll show you the lymph system. That's extremely valuable. Iridology is extremely valuable in understanding one's lymphatic system and why we're suffering. It's no illusionary concept of disease, cause, and effect. You create, you get back. Now, didn't say you were consciously creating things. You know, we create things all the time unconsciously. The mind gets chattering, we create, and not always looking at what that creation can bring us. That's why it's better to create from a distance. But that's the problem here is your lymphatic system here. And that's what you want to work on, is you want to go after your lymphatic system. Get your kidneys to filter. Key. Can't say it enough. No filtration, no improvement, or very little. So you really want to get that filtration. And sweating, that's your third kidney. Sweat. And clean yourself out. And you might even see it get worse when you do that. You know, when you start detoxification, don't expect things to always look better right off. You're starting to move that which you don't want inside of you to the outside. So your kidneys might get stressed, your skin might get stressed, you might see a lot of friggin' mucus coming out of you, and you're going to see the stages of mucus coming out of you that your body's in. Acute stages are going to be clear mucus. Subacute stages, which turns a blue eye yellow, you're going to come out yellow mucus. And it's going to start turning green. Those are the hazel eyes, where you're starting to get green and brown eyes from the white. In other words, blue, white, yellow, green, brown. That's your movement through these deeper stages of acidosis. They're not diseases, they're deeper stages of acidosis. And at each one, they're diseases that reflect those stages. And that's the symptomology you see. And of course, when you get into the chronic degenerative stages, that's where you see cells breaking down. But these are always in located areas. What really is the icing on the cake is when you take pharmaceuticals for any of that. Now they're suppressing or they're enhancing the problem by giving you more acids. For some reason, pharmaceutical scientists are radical and out of this planet. There's something wrong with them. Anybody that creates chemotherapy and thinks that this stuff is Jesus juice has to spend some time on a tropical island sucking down some coconut water. You know, this stuff is ripping people apart and killing them right and left, and we're allowing it. And the FDA is allowing that. And the FDA's got karma coming back to it. You can't continue to suppress the natural people and promote the pharmaceuticals that kill people. After a while, the folk is going to come blow back on you. You know, that's just what's going on right now. And we have to become strong. We've had the governments and these FDA type people blow back on us. Now it's time we blow back on those guys. You know, we have the power of truth. And we have the power of the divine right now, I guarantee you. And it's going to happen. And those that get in the way, going to happen. Head infections. Okay, so let's think of the word infection, because this is a big deal. Because when you think infection, you think immediately bacterial. The medical profession has so people scared of bacteria. You got wipe your hands everywhere you go. Wipe your hands everywhere you go, and that's toxic. Stupid. You want to build a natural immunity. Get yourself dirty. You want a natural immunity, and if you go into a detoxification from a bacterial overload, oh, great, you needed it. But killing your little friends is not the answer. You know, cleaning your terrain so the food doesn't exist is the answer. But whatever you kill, remember, anything that kills bacteria can kill your own cells. This is why, remember the guy that was on our programs, I think he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Of course, we were cleaning the acids out of the prostate interstitially and all that, and getting the kidneys to filter. So he got massive kidney filtration. His PSA, everything was doing great. He was out of trouble. He was doing good. But for some reason, he got real tired, was fatigued, probably had a down day with the adrenals. But that's where your problem would be, of course. One of them. And so somehow he checked himself in the ER against his wife's wishes, or went into the ER. They saw that he was filtering, did a urinalysis and a blood work, saw that he was filtering, said he had a massive infection, ran him to the ICU, gave him vancomycin, which is the top dog just about, killed him. And his wife told me if I can't get him out of here, they're going to kill him. She told me that, and I told her right back, absolutely. And next thing we knew, your husband died. Husband died of what? You killed him. And he'll just be passed off. Another death. By the illustrious AMA because of their ignorance of life and truth and chemistry and physics. You know, I don't know. Just be careful out there. That's all I can tell you. Fair warning. You get infections, get with this. What is infectious? Proteins. Proteins. What about the carbon side? Who's the little creatures of the carbon side of life? Fungus. Fungus. So don't ever be afraid of bacteria. You want natural immunities, but when you've got a terrain that is full of sewage and you're a meat eater and you have all this protein buildup in your body and you stink, you're calling the wild up. You're calling nature in to help clean you up. You can't get mad at it and then go to these wackos and take medical or antibiotics to kill the people that you're inviting in, unconsciously, of course. You have to understand the condition of the human body is at an all-time low, acidically, genetically, lymphatically. And look at you, look at the children, look at what we're having to deal with our babies and with our teenagers and stuff. You guys are suffering majorly. Time to stop that, and time to have good babies coming in here. And it's only you guys that are learning the truth that are going to promote that. You know, and get the idiocy of this fallacy of disease concepts out of here. Let people stand up and know the truth. You're creating your own problems and you have the power to uncreate it. You're the one. You have all the power. Each and every one of you have all the power. Whether you accept it or not, or use it, that's up to you. But you were born here as an individual expression of God. Use it. I have been listening to you for a few years now. Whoa, wow. Thanks for hanging in there. And I love you and I love what you teach, and I also believe what you say and teach. Thank you. I try to teach the truth, and we can back it up. Look at how many of you are getting cured. Well, I have about 50 years of curing people behind that. So got a long history of curing a lot of people. That's how Dr. Jensen found me. So we've got a lot of years of curing everything under the sun. Not diseases. Diseases are incurable by all accounts. I was diagnosed with Lyme over 2 years ago. And so Lyme, if you put Lyme, lupus, fibromyalgia, all bundled in the same little box, you have the same thing, systemic acidosis, head to toe. And notice they give antibiotics for it. There was I think it was Jesse Ventura did a special on a lab up in New York area somewhere dealing in, different virals and Lyme and all kinds of weird stuff. And this was a chemical laboratory. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that show again. But definitely some connection to Lyme and virals and labs and experimentation and you know what I mean. Like Bethesda Air Force Base and HIV and Ebola. Remember that one? Man created. Yeah, I mean, look at the history of the Hep B vac tied to the AIDS or the HIV viral and Bethesda Air Force Base. Look at all that. What's that? The emerging virus? Is that what? What's his name? Wallach or whatever his name was that wrote that book. That was a good book. A lot of documentation too involved in that. You want to see some. There's another good patriot out there, Bo Greitz, ran for president at one time. Colonel Bo Greitz. He stopped him at Ruby Ridge. He sure didn't stop him at Waco, but he understands the law and what's going on in this country quite a bit. So these sort of levels up there of what's been going on. He was sent over to do the Jim Jones, was it, the camp where, 500 and some or 400 and some people were found dead. They all drank poison. Well, come to find out, Colonel Bo Greitz was sent over there and a team to investigate it. He said, what was all the people in the jungle they found dead? He said the count that they found was 700 or 800, and it said it wasn't all from poisoning. And he claimed it was a government experimental chemistry place. I don't know, guys. I tell you what, there's a lot of bad stuff out there. And you guys, we want to be God people. Time to shine the light on the darkness. And guess who the light is? You guys. So, I can tell you right off with the diagnosis that your lymph system is a you-know-what house mess. Meaning head to toe, and meaning more toward the chronic levels. So it's going to take you a while to break open those kidneys and adrenals, get your adrenal steroids up so you have some anti-inflammatory power. And because that's another problem. When your adrenals go down, your steroids go down. Well, your steroids are used for antacids too. You got all your progesterones, even cortisols. Your body can use these alkaline steroids as anti-inflammatories. They're cholesterol based. Instead of using cholesterol directly, you could use cortisol, or progesterone is used, right? To what? Neutralize estrogen, right? Why? So you see that in steroids and hormones. You see chemistry. Acids and base, acids and alkalis. Each one does the other. But who neutralizes who and who stays the dominant? Alkalis. And it's vital. So progesterone must dominate. Now, I saw this thing about placenta eating, right? So a lot of women are eating a placenta. Here's the danger in that. Not only is it a meat substance, a protein substance, it is a high progesterone substance. When you conceive, your placenta becomes predominantly progesterone. Why? It's antacid. It helps to protect the fetus. But by consuming high levels of progesterone, you can shove your estrogen way out and then start getting vaginal dryness. You can start getting a lack of estrogen symptoms. So you want to be careful with that. Keeping your hormones and steroids in balance are important, and there's no doctor alive that can do this. This bioidentical steroids. Ugh. Any physician thinks they have that kind of ability. And I hate to say that because we've had a couple of medical doctors in our classes that were bioidentical steroid recommenders, man and wife team. I love you guys. But you can't do that. Not and keep proper homeostatic balance. geared to that individual using the body. You got to understand there's so many forces at play when a soul inhabits a human body. And this soul's got other bodies that he brought or she brought with them. Now the soul is engendered, but the bodies are, especially from the causal down. So, pretty interesting stuff though. 2 years ago, but have had the symptoms for over 15 years. Yeah. Building, and this is the thing, and this is what happens. And no one tells us about it because they don't know about it, is that when you don't filter in the kidneys, no matter how good you eat, you can eat a lot of raw foods, and if you're not filtering, still going to go down, still going to have your problems. A lot of health people wonder, why am I still having problems? I'm eating healthy. Yeah. One, what's eating healthy? And number two, are you getting the lymph moving? We all have to move up to that detoxification zone to understand what we have to do to open up these doors. So you've got to get your kidneys and your skin open up, dear one, or you can't change the outcome of this. I would quit thinking of it in terms of a viral or bacterial issue, because they've given antibiotics for Lyme's with what? No success. Hello. I don't even know why they do that. And then the Jesse Ventura said, well, we're dealing really in viral. And then you go back, it's like what you're dealing with is systemic lymphatic stagnation. You're dealing in acidosis. The pain doesn't come. The only way virals give pain is because they're proteins. Proteins initiates pain. They're acids. So when you're in a pain, you never want to eat high proteins or any protein. I've told you story after story, a medical doctor story, where I showed him firsthand what it's like to give someone in pain more protein. That is about as dumb as you can get. And yet you got medical doctor after medical doctor, naturopath after naturopath recommending high protein diets for people with Lyme and lupus and all that stuff. What the hell are you thinking? I mean, you can't give an acid on top of acid. That's the criminals of oncology. The chemistry doesn't dictate acids on top of acid. Even a chemist, if they got any brains at all, will tell you don't mix an acid with an acid if you want to get well. If you want to neutralize what an acid is doing to you, you do not take another acid to neutralize an acid. That is not chemistry. That is not duality. Duality says that if you want to neutralize an acid, you have to have a base. And that is an element or a compound with a dominant of electrons, where an acid is a dominant of protons. Ionization, where you have the movement of that. And that's what you're doing. You're bringing hydration, you're bringing neutralization, a homeostasis, if you can use the word, to the body when you start consuming alkaline ash forming foods high in alkaline chemistry, electrolytes. And as you hydrate, your swelling, even in the kidneys, go down, and it allows for better urination, better filtration. And this is true everywhere, in your lungs, in your heart, liver. All the swelling starts coming down. But that's because you're bringing an anionic environment, a alkaline environment, which is in a liquidity, a breaking up of your acid agglomulation that is not only tearing apart like a catabolic experience, but it's also locking and drying and hardening. If you see these breast tumors, they get harder and harder and harder. That's not good. You don't want things too hard in the body. That's high acidosis, concentrated acidosis. And nothing good, because that's a chewing, like Pac-Man. That's acids. Lipids come in and go. That's why cholesterol makes up the dominance of your lymphatic fluids, or a big part of it. Lipids are majorly antacid. That's why you see better effects going on the ketogenic type of diet. Not that that's what you want to do, because ketosis, you're creating all kinds of scenarios for yourself there. You know, these diet plans and stuff are so stupid. Like the South Beach, you're advertising a high protein diet is a healthy diet. Are you kidding? Who told you that? And what scientific data do you have to prove that? Let's take thousands of people and to show you to prove the opposite effect of that. And I think a lot of our beautiful athletes and bodybuilders stuff will be getting to tell you the story of what happens under too much protein. And this person, I'm 48 years young. This person is 48 years young but feels like they're 75, and that's exactly what acids do. They make you swell, they make you feel crippled, they make you bend over, they put you in the molly position. Look at what happens in RA or any of them. ALS, and these are all just levels of acidosis. Some involved neurologically, some not. Just different names for that. They're not diseases, no such thing. That medical doctors go treat their diseases. But don't fall into that idiocy. It generally does have a bad whiplash back on the person. I was doing great on fruit with a yam and a veggie meal for supper, and then I broke a tooth. Didn't get it dealt with right away and ended up with an infection. Every time I'm eating fruit, since my teeth scream like crazy and my neck and jaw and head feel full. Well, you know what? What I'm seeing here just in that paragraph is that you've got a parathyroid. You've got a lot of congestion here in the sinuses and head area and in your gums. That's what's breaking your teeth. Now, maybe why you broke the tooth, it got weak and you broke it. That and the fruit are just going to, you're going to see activity with this. Again, you always want to make sure that your mouth is alkaline. Even if you have to follow fruit up with some, even though fruit is supposed to keep your mouth alkaline. But some of the pineapples and lemons could make your mouth look acidic, followed up with some bicarbonate. And even if you're fighting this, use a little bicarbonate mouthwash once in a while until you can get your lymph moving and draining here to get your tissues back into an alkaline state. It's not the fruit that's doing it to you. And the fact that your fruit are screaming stuff, it just says that you are very low in the calcium thing. I would really be looking at my parathyroid. Everything here in the face, you might think about pituitary with it. Get the sinuses to drain. Now, when you're talking about that, what else? What is all this sitting down on? Your GI tract. So when this thing is backed up and chronic, so is this. So you got to work. That's why you see the protocols the way we have them. Because we're going to work on everything to start bringing everything into order and work together so you can drain. So you got to work on that. I should mention I just broke 3 other teeth in less than 2 weeks. Yep, not surprised. So you want to start doing the bicarbonate mouthwashes for number 1. You want to go on a grape diet. You don't want to get up too much into the acidic fruit, but get into the grapefruit. Remember, even the acidic fruit have an alkaline response. But get up into the grapes, apples, great regeneration. If you want, do the superfood number 3, because I still maintain a lot of fruits and berries. Berries high in calcium as well. But it is the utilization of this. Look at your body as a food processor. Each and every one of them. When you're going after your body, what does your body do? It digests, meaning it takes complex chemistry, breaks it back down to the simplistic chemistry before your body can use it, or it's going out, right? And if you can't break apart complex chemistry, you're going to see undigested foods in your stool. So that's enzymatic action. It breaks things apart like that. Enzymes are used in every chemical catalyst on the universe. So enzymatic actions from the food itself and from the pancreatic areas, the duct and the pancreas itself. So you have that action. Then you have absorption. Well, where do we absorb? Through the small bowel wall, and a little through the large bowel, but not much. Micro traces maybe, but your small bowel, 22 feet of small bowel, 5 feet of colon. So you got about 22 feet of absorption, maybe. So what would block absorption? If you got to absorb through the interstitial spaces and stuff, what if those interstitial spaces are constipated, lymphatically stagnant? What would that bring you? Malabsorption, right? So if you have malabsorption, that means that if you digested good, you're not absorbing what you digested. What if you're a little off here? And of course, everybody's off in absorption, I have to tell you. I don't see too many people that are absorbing well, except for you guys that are cleaning your guts up, or your lymphatics up. So now you have these 2 things. What's the third thing your body has to do now? You digested you took this chemistry, you ingested a part, all right? Your body's absorbed what it can of that. Now, how do I use those goodies? That's called the adrenal glands. Anybody have healthy adrenal glands out there? Yeah. So when you have iron deficiency, that's called iron deficiency or whatever, you have low iron, everybody goes to the liver. What about the adrenal glands? That's where you have the mineral corticosteroids to utilize these. So the metabolism of chemistry is dealt with through the adrenals. What else is dealt through the adrenals when we're dealing in metabolism? Sugars. So you see the adrenals play a major role. Now there's one that stands kind of outside of that. Which mineral stands kind of outside of that adrenal gland? Calcium. Parathyroid glands. So I can tell you right off, you have a parathyroid thing. You're losing a lot of calcium from your interstitial acidosis. Your head's full, feels full. That's what you don't want. You want to back down from this because the next thing from full is head pressure. And then glaucomic pressure, pressure in the eyes, and just pressure. But this isn't a blood pressure. There isn't a pill for this pressure. This is lymphatic pressure. This is acid pressure, edemic pressure. Not the worst pressure of the body. And that's when you start seeing things breaking down. MACD, all the stuff like that, you start seeing things break down the cells because now you have acidosis for years and years. Like you said, you've seen it coming on for 15 years. And you got to go through these stages. I put Lyme's and lupus up in the subacute to chronic levels of lymph stagnation. So there's a lot of years through that you worked and built this. You can't just jump from a healthy body to lupus or Lyme. That's stupid. These are deep, deep weaknesses or acidosis of the human body. Big time. Excuse me.
Yes.
How's our time? See, so you want to fix this because what's next? Your bones? Yeah, you don't want, and then saggy, wrinkly skin. Yeah, you don't want that. So all of that is a good sign of connective tissue issues, which is where? Parathyroid gland. And if you're short or tall, you might look at the pituitary. Just saying. I've lost most of the hearing in my right. She's lost most of it. Is this a she or he? Oh my God, this is 3 pages long. I don't know. I don't know yet. Okay, so I've lost most of the hearing in my right ear. For the first thing you want to do is candle your ears, about 3 or 4 candles per ear. Do it again a few days later, and maybe a few days later do it again. You want to start loosening. Work with your neurolymphatics down your back, down your front, and also hot and cold to the back of the head. At the same time, start bringing the bowels, GI broom, stomach and bowels. You want to work on the GI tract. At the same time, you're going after those kidneys. You've got to get yourself filtering. You have to dry fast, whatever you got to do. You've got to get those kidneys filtering. Fruit, berries, melons, dry fasting, water fasting. Those are how you get your kidneys fixed. And herbal formulas for the kidneys. Those are the only ways I know. The only ways I know how to get yourself filtering. And of them, obviously, I've learned myself that dry fasting is probably one of the quickest, fastest ways to do it. But you've got to do it. Because if you don't get your kidneys filtered, how can you change the outcome? If you can't eliminate what's causing the problem, how can you fix it? See, that's the problem. It's not something you treat. It's like a guy came in here from 9/11, one of the first responders. And out of his platoon, most everybody died. And he wants to get well. And I said, you have to understand that when you ingest chemistry, whether it's excito, neural, no matter what toxins they are, there's only one remedy to that. Detoxification. There's only one remedy to ingesting of toxic chemistry that's not coming out, is to detox it out. And the problem is that the more acidic someone is, this chemistry that you're bringing in doesn't want to go out because your body's in a cationic environment, not an anionic environment. So then your body doesn't want to eliminate that which is in. So you can hold radiation in for years. All these x-rays and stuff that they're doing in CAT scans, they don't realize that when you're acidic, you hold that radiation in the body. And the only way you get rid of it, radiation detox, is the same thing as all detoxes. Get yourself in an aqueous state. Remember, there's only 2 sides of life to be on in chemistry and physics. But there's endless degrees of those 2 sides. So you want to open yourself up, because this isn't good. Because it isn't just the congestion, it's the fact that it's acid congestion. I've lost most of the hearing in my arm because the infection. This is don't call it infection. If it's infection, it is mucus that's got to get out of you. You got to get this mucus out. Killing the bacteria does not remove mucus. It just makes it so you can't do it more. Why? Because you kill the bacteria in your lymph nodes. That you're slamming your lymph nodes. And you slam your lymph nodes, no, you want to treat them like little babies. Oh, sweet little lymph nodes. Absolutely. Go ahead and let all that go through. Yeah, there you go. 3 months of antibiotic. 3 months of antibiotics that I wasn't faithful taking because of how the antibiotics affected my stomach. Hello. And now seeing the doc again today because the pain and throbbing in my ear is unbearable. Candle your ears. I personally feel like mucus doesn't move out from the right side of my head. It probably doesn't, because this is the side you're probably blocked on. So you got to go after that bowel, go after that kidneys, go, work. You want to be on a fruit, berry, and melon diet. And if you have to, chew on some horseradish root. Go get you to the store and chew on some horseradish root. And the thing is, even you can neti pot a little something, but boy, I don't know how much of a heat I would produce. Maybe prickly ash or something, but I don't know if I would do the cayenne. You would want to be way down in the heat units, but you don't want to promote mucus, but you want to loosen mucus. Well, loosening mucus up is an alkaline experience, just like hydration is an alkaline experience. Getting rid of edema is a hydration experience. And he doesn't know what's causing this problem. You call it an infection, so he's going to treat it. And it's like, excuse me, it's lymph stagnation. Anything infectious is sewage, right? Stinky sewage. Get the tonsil stone out. Yeah, stinky sewage. Dr. Pimple Popper. Oh, big tonsil stone. This is sewage, guys. These are proteins. These are sewage, and it stinks like it. You ever smell a tumor you pulled out of someone? For those that their tumors are draining, the necrotic smell, pretty nasty. Think of that when you eat dead animals and stuff like that, and milks and cheeses and stuff like that. Think of that smell. It's quite different than a fermented smell. The left side of my body is bigger than my right, and it is even visible in my face. Well, I can tell you, my dear one, you need to get deep in this. You need to detoxify yourself and get your bilateralness back. And your body will accomplish that by fixing your kidneys, by fixing your body, fixing your glands. Your body will pull itself back into balance homeostatically. So go after health. Dig in. Go to Wellville. Drive the train to Wellville, baby. And this is your train. This is your car. And it's you're either going to have a good time with this car or you're not. Yeah, you want to work on that. I'm tired of being sick, but I'm stressed at my symptoms when I eat fruit because the pain in my head has me double over. Then what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to find something. You're going to have to go on a water fast, go on a green drink. I can't imagine that even being better for you. The thing with fruit is it loosens. That's why we use fruit. It's astringent. It's the most nutritious, energetic food on the planet, given grown properly. So it loosens this stuff up. Find the fruit that you can tolerate. Go to green drinks or just do water fasting. But you can't just go back to eating because it's a compound. Sometimes, I hate to say this, and it might sound weird to a medical doctor, but sometimes you got to blow through some of these experiences. So candle your ears. See if you can take some of this pressure off in a different way by candling your ears. You can neti pot the sinuses. Use the three lung tea. I would sip on the 3-lung tea. The 3-lung tea I made to loosen up sputum, to loosen up this hardened mucus. Sip on it. That's fenugreek, pleurisy, and mullein, anti-inflammatories. So it'll help with all this. Get on some herbs. You want on some herbs. You just don't want to let your fruit to do it. You want to use the herbs to get to the kidneys, to get to the bowel, start opening and cleaning and opening and cleaning. You got to. I'm a redhead. A redhead and very sensitive to pain now, I bet. If I even bump my elbow, I almost black out. Oh, honey. Oh, man. Well, you've got major systemic pain. You've got major lymphatic problems. Major. That's all I can tell you. And you got moles growing all over you? Freckles or anything? Major lymphatic problems. When one side's bigger than the other, and you've got pressure in your head like at that level, and fruit makes you have pain in the head, that's serious. And taking antibiotics will just make it worse. That's the problem. They don't get it. It's not infection where you're going after bacteria. This is acidosis. This is lymph stagnation. You can't treat that. You can only hydrate and loosen it and get it out. You know you can't treat it by now. I can't tell you the people that come in my office crying and screaming with head pressure, no antidote. And what the AMA does is just keep suppressing until the head pressure blows your head off. I mean, you just... which never used to be. I didn't eat any fruit for 4.5 years because my urine would burn like crazy, and the doctors could never find any reason for my urine to burn. Acid. Acid is what burns. Medical acids. Fruit pulls the acids out of the body. But find yourself some grapes. Grapes or apples. Get down on the acid scale a little bit. These are your most alkaline fruits, are your grapes, things like that. Try blueberries. Or make yourself applesauce, even if you just stayed with some Red Delicious applesauce or something and put a little cinnamon in it. You know, play with a little bit that way. Find that fruit that can help you in a balanced way and take off at that and do some dry fasting and water fasting. You're going to have to. You have to break things loose, and you want to be on an herbal regimen. You really do. You want to be on the herbs that open your doors. And I wouldn't put on, I wouldn't do any more than one lymphatic formula. And I might start out with 2 kidney formulas and a half a lymphatic formula. You know, because you're going to pull, and when you pull, pain comes. When you astringe the body and you're at chronic levels, which is where you're at, pain is part of that. But if you don't bust through this in some way or another, you're not going to have a life worth crap here. You probably don't already. My diet was 9 to 12 eggs a day with chicken, tuna, and mashed potatoes. Holy crap. Well, you brought your body to this point. Now you have to work with us and others to work it back out of that place. You have to wiggle yourself back out of those chronic levels of acidosis, because I don't know what else you can do. You can't live with it because it'll just chew you up. So if you want remedy, you have to hydrate yourself. You might have to go on a green juice fast first and to work yourself up to an apple or grape fast. But you got to do it. And you don't want to do too many vegetables, eating them, because it'll hold you back. And you've got to open this door. Well, again, candle your ears if you have to keep doing it to take some of this pressure out of here. Get your nose to run. I don't know. Get an onion, a real strong onion, and hold it under your nose and breathe and see if you can't get your sinuses to break loose a little bit. Go after your kidneys with herbs, and go after this. Because you're in trouble, honey. This diet is unreal. 9 to 12 eggs a day with chicken? Holy crap. I didn't even eat that when I was a farm boy. Awful, I know. Yeah, you're right. But that was before I found you on YouTube. I'm glad you found me, dear one. Because you got yourself in a little bit of a state now. We got to back you out of that. But any other foods would cause so much acid in my urine, my poop, in my esophagus, that I was eating about 25, oh my God, a day to suppress the acid so I could pee. Yeah, when you look at 9 to 12 eggs, chicken, tuna, and mashed potatoes, you're pretty acidic. Those are all acid-ash foods except the mashed potatoes, but begin with the milk and all that in them. I don't know where that is. But all that other stuff is majorly acidic. So you've got to pull all this protein back out of you. And of course your body doesn't like that, doesn't like the feel of that. Your kidneys do not like the feel of that. Nobody likes the feel of acidosis. Not me tell you. And if you do, you're one crazy person. Because that's all pain, discomfort. I can't even tell you. Cloggy minds. All these sort of things. I could drink lots of water, but it was like my body wouldn't absorb it because of the acid, and I was always going into the hospital for IV. Holy crap. They can't even tell you about that? You're so acidic. You hit it right on the head here. And this is a good case for you all to learn. When you take yourself down that acid road, you're going down to Hellville. And you're sitting in Hellville right now, honey. Holy crap. But if you don't start driving your car down to Wellville, which is the Alkaline Highway, pretty much going to be devastating to you. And it already is. So however you do this, water, whatever, take anti-inflammatories, drink sip on the 3-lung tea, whatever you do to help buffer acidosis. Do your bicarbonate. Take a little bicarbonate in some water. Don't overdo it, but take a little bicarbonate in water. Help to bring alkalization to your blood and your body. But you got to get it. You got to do it. You got to fight through the pain, because I don't think you're going to have a painless detox. It's obvious. But when you're high up there with fibromyalgia, this is all systemic acidosis. And not fun getting out of that. It's not fun getting out of it. You can get out of it. Guarantee you get out of it. Hildy's a great example of someone that got out of extreme systemic acidosis with major mutation. Look at her focus. And that was the easy thing she had to deal with. So, look at her focus. When you suffer enough and you're a higher being, you want truth, and when you find it, you take off with it. The docs all think I'm nuts because they've never seen this before. I have. If they have, that's interesting. I have. Lots of times. And I know right where you're going to go, too. And that's the way I'm talking to you the way I am. Fruit causes me so much pain, then step back to green drinks or water fasting. But you got to get up to that higher level. Juice yourself Red Delicious and throw some cinnamon in it. And then throw some antispasmodic in that. You might have to use the antispasmodic. And if the alcohol tinctures cause you pain, you might have to go over to the glycerin tinctures. I'm telling you, you have to find your way to move yourself, navigate out of this. You might need to hook to Marcia or Attila, one of the counselors, and have them pull you back through this rabbit hole. Excuse me.
G'day, mate.
Well, yes.
But all of the other foods causes so much inflammation. Thank you. And swell, my body gets so hot at night, my hubby can't even touch me, not to mention the chills. Oh, honey, I know exactly where you are. Let me tell you. But you got to burn through this. Hubby, you need to help her. You've got to burn through this, honey, because you cannot, just what you're seeing. You can't go the other way. You can't compound where you're at. That you don't want to do that. It could take you out. You want to get you know the road you got to go down. I can see that, and I know you're trying to go down it. That's why you probably need to hook to Marcy or someone that can counsel you and give you other things to help buffer some anti-inflammatories, like we have inflammation joints, the good buffering, 3-lung teas, a great antacid. You know, you might have to use some of these herbal teas as antacids to help you, like the heal-all tea. And you might have to rely on those kind of food sources, because remember, all the herbs have nutrition in them. So it's not, you're just not starving for nutrition by just doing herbs. So you got to move yourself out of this. Think of the bicarbonate using baking soda, but get the aluminum free. Don't overdo it. Just get a little bit. Put a little bit with your herbs or whatever in with your fruit. But you want to pull yourself out of this extreme acidosis, and the kidneys are the doorways. Unfortunately, your skin is too. So make sure you're sweating, and it probably can burn. I've had people where they sweat and burn. When they sweat, it burns them. That's not good. When you sweat and your sweat burns you, that's acidosis. It's the same thing where your rings turn on your fingers. Some women are so acidic, their gold and silver break down on them. Silver anyway. It's amazing. I mean, but you understand what it is. It's acidosis. And you've got to, at all costs, to your beingness, get on the other side. And I think you know that. And this is going for everybody that's listening to this. Because in time, that's what happens. When medical doctors treat, things compound. When you detox, you eliminate and become free of. Because these components are in your body that need to get out of your body. And any medical doctor sits there and thinks otherwise is sucking on a toxic egg. Or a piece of dung. Cow dung. Whew. But I'm only beginning to tell you of the many symptoms in the beginning. Oh, no. Oh, no, I have. I know exactly where you're coming from, sweetheart. I've been 50 years in this field, and I've worked with tens of thousands of people. So I know exactly where you're coming from, but you got to blow through it. And using some of these things that I'm telling you about can be helpful to you big time. But like I said, you might need to hook to a counselor and not try it on your own. Because, and you know, I don't say you're going to have a pain-free detox either. But there are times you're going to reach it. I would hook to Hildy and have her help you. Because if anybody knows about pain, it's Hildy. So have her help you. I don't know how to move ahead with the fruit. Okay, so yeah, so see how this helps you, sweetie. But you get through this. I help you myself. But if you can get a hold of Hildy, everybody knows Hildy out there on our site. She's pretty seriously focused. But you gotta be. What did I do with that chart? Dang it. I did have it here. It's from the American Cancer Society. I think I showed you that once. Back in 1983, they came out of a chart, and it had all raw foods on it. And I forget what it said, something like, change your outcome, or I don't know. Something like that. But they were promoting, this is the American Cancer Society, John Rockefeller Jr., I suppose, talking about raw foods. And I used to speak at the man-to-man group. It's a prostate group of the American Cancer Society, and then you have your breast cancers groups. And none of them ever saw that chart. They never show that chart to anyone anymore. I know I have it somewhere here. I found it. Reduce your risk. Huh. How quickly they forget, huh? Yeah, you know what? It's sad to think that business trumps the health of people and healing people. All right, I've got time for one more. But this case, this lady is a valuable case, and she's probably up at some of the worst levels you can be at. Outside of that, when her nervous system goes down, that doesn't get good from there. So, must fix thyself always. No matter what you go through, you want to fix yourself, because it's not good to die that way. Yoann Ritchie from France. I am trying to cure from a neuromuscular disease. All right, so let's take out the disease. So it doesn't exist. So you have a neuromuscular problem? All right, so going back to neuromuscular, you've got to always pull back to what we just talked about. You got to always pull back, okay? Symptoms. All right, it's my nervous system. Right? A lot of times it's muscles, yeah, but it's the nervous system that controls the muscles. So when the nervous system's down, whenever a neural's involved, more serious in my opinion, because that means that your diet needs to be fruits, berries, and melons only. Because I've said this a million times, neurological conditions, neurological weaknesses have to have electricity. You have to feed back the electricity to the body. Well, that's found only in your raw foods, and especially in your fruits and berries. Those are the highest electrical foods on the planet. So you got to go there. But what side of I'm back here now at the wall. What side of chemistry is breaking down my cells? Doesn't matter if it's neural cells, muscle cells, bone cells, I don't care what kind of cells. What side of chemistry is breaking them down? Base or acid? All right? So you know the acid side's breaking those cells down. Whether they're neuromuscular, doesn't matter, right? Okay, just for the sake of argument. Now, from that point, you can get into what foods are acid forming and what foods are non-acid forming. That's just the start of it. We haven't broken down into even the alkaline forming foods have acid. Everything breaks down to acids. In the final analysis, all things break down to acids, basically, because this is how nature takes the complex back to the simplistic, and then it takes those atoms that you gave back to life and reforms another human or a tree or whatever it needs. So we're in an atom, I've said this for years, we're in an atom rearrangement game here. We're in a Lego set, and all the Lego pieces are atoms. Use one up, oops, I got to tear it down so I can use them to build something else. We're in a completed universe. I can't just go to the bank and get more atoms. I can't reach up into the heavens and say, I need more atoms, because the heavens are already built. The creation is already finished, guys. You're only experiencing it through consciousness. It's already built. And if you get that one, I think, didn't we talk about this? Charcot Marie Tooth or something like that, linked to Chromosome X. And you know what? When you live with that level of medical thinking, you can't find a remedy. But if you pull back from that and realize that when you say, and let's just take for an argument, let's say for argument that they're correct about the chromosome, which I don't buy any of that. They get into genetics only to impress you guys, because they don't know what genetics is. But I can tell you this. If I'm I'm a cell, right? I've got my mitochondria, I've got organs and glands within me as a cell, and I could be a cell of an organ, and within me, I have organs within me, and my organs have organs within them. So if I go the other way, I'm a cell in a liver, which is a cell in a body, which is a cell in a universe, which is a... See where we're going? Whichever way you go, you'll always find God. Either the biggest with the smallest. Wild, isn't it? But my DNA, my mitochondria, chromosomes, what's going to alter my state of consciousness? Now, you have to understand that every cell is genetics, and that the original state of cells are altered by what? Lifestyles, chemistry. I'm a cell in your liver. There's no reason for me to be any more than what I am. And how my level of thinking is how I'm conditioned. Let's look at it from a more spiritual perspective. From a more spiritual, outside of the mundaneness of chemistry and physics, I get my awareness from my family tree. I'm a cell, and I come a part of the consciousness of life, but I'm coming through this process of awareness, where when the DNA is damaged, how does that affect consciousness? You know, these are other questions. How does the mutation of a human cell from a chemical viewpoint affect the awareness, the mental component of that cell, the emotional component of that cell, and then the emotional mental component of the whole being, and the whole as it's reflected from that weakness, from that consciousness? Because all chemistry does is alter consciousness. So it gets into some interesting levels of awareness when we're dealing in how does that alter from a spiritual viewpoint, from the consciousness viewpoint, how does it alter the structure function ability of that cell? And I guess I can liken it to the fact that when you have a very acidic day and your body doesn't feel good and you're in pain and stuff, you can't think right. Your feelings are off. All your bodies are off. When you're feeling good in one body, you tend to feel good in all the bodies. Now, you can feel real bad in your physical body and be happy in your emotional body and be very awake in your consciousness. Yeah. That's what I'd like to change, is get everyone feeling good in all their bodies so they don't even know they have bodies, and they're working more from themselves as awareness as opposed from body languages. So, let's suppose they're right, that chemistry is mutating awareness, which would be right at one level. How would you change that back? Same way, opposite way. Use chemistry to change it back. Because things are cause and effect. Things aren't just one way. There's regeneration and there's degeneration. Just because one modality doesn't understand regeneration and they're just trying to think of stem cells and everything else, they just trying to force it because they don't understand it. That's not us. We know how creation is put together. We know how chemistry works, physics works, and we put it all together, and there it is. Nice little bowl, nice little box. Here you go. So you want to get out of that thinking of chromosome and crap like that, because they couldn't just talk about that at all. You want regeneration. And regeneration takes place under the alkaline sky. So you want to go right back, especially if this neuro, because muscular is probably just the effect. It's probably more neural. Being muscular gives you a clue to which nervous system's involved. Which nervous system's involved? You have two nervous systems. Which one's involved? The autonomic. And where's the brain of the autonomic? Stomach, solar plexus. So you can have problems here. Where else? Where does the autonomic get its juice? Adrenal glands. So, you always, in every neurological condition or problem that man faces, the adrenal glands are always 100% always involved. And we're genetically. So where would you go to start working on the nervous system? Aha! The adrenal glands, since they're always involved, and they produce neurotransmitters. Those that start getting into weak adrenals get into low blood pressures. The lower the blood pressure, the lower the electrical response. You keep lowering the electrical response to the myelin sheath decay and become chronic. And that's when you really have some serious problems. Heart arrhythmias, bowel movements, everything else is controlled electrically, right? So, your focus wants to be, now what happens when the kidneys start to go because the adrenal's going, or vice versa, then the blood pressure can go from low, which is what it is, to high. High blood pressure is really just low blood pressure. And those guys of you that have high blood pressure, watch it as you go down, down, down. Wait a minute, I don't want to go down too low. Wait a minute, it's going down, down, down. Wait a minute. It'll cap at your genetics and then bring itself back up. Interesting stuff if you watch how the body works in its genetic stance and how it has to take itself back to those genetic memories, get rid of those genetic memories and then bring itself back. I mean, when we're dealing in genetics and memories and things like that, you're not dealing in physicalities. You're not dealing in physical chemistries and things like that. And that drives a physical scientist mad. Good. Then make a quantum chemistry where you have a little bit out of the box Perry Mason thinkers in chemistry instead of your chemists who just echo the same bull crap you hear in chemistry all the time. And it's not even true. I mean, this chemist came in my office one day because swore he was red and he had pain all through him, severe pain, just like you, honey. And he says, I have alkalosis. And I said, I beg your difference. You have acidosis. He says, I beg your difference. I have alkalosis. I'm going, oh, God, here we go. But I need your help, so I disagree with you. And I disagreed with him, but he needed my help. So for the next year, he argued with me. I said, you're dealing in acidosis, bro. So one day, he came in sweating really bad. I said, here's a pH paper. Check your sweat. Oh, well, Hylius didn't even change the paper. You know, some chemists don't know. I mean, there's misinformation in chemistry. I'm telling you, it is. We don't live in a truthful world right now. Too bad. So we have to be the ones that are truthful. Which was declared when I was 12 years old. I'm now 41. Well, get yourself into health. Get yourself into regeneration of your body, because you're going to have to. If it's neural, you've got to. Because any neurological can shut down everything. Muscles is just one thing. So that's not good. So you want to rebuild. And rebuild happens when you get on the fruit and berry meal. You got to detoxify. Detoxification isn't where you're using inferior food to clean yourself out, and that there's better food somewhere else. No. You're using the top electrical and nutritional food to detoxify with. Oh. I didn't know fruit was some of the best food on the planet. I didn't know that. No, because we're lied to about grains and beans and complex chemistry, and you need all this complex chemistry. Oh, really? Yeah, take a look at that last case where she had 12 eggs and tuna and all chicken and all that, and look at the condition she's in. You won't see anybody eating fruit and veggies that start out that way and eating all of that, getting ever in that condition. That's all from proteins. So it's a tough way to get back. And I got to go to lunch because I got a meeting. So I'd like you to help to settle a cure protocol. I am confident in getting rid of the disease. Throw the disease away. It's not a disease. But I need your help. It's been a couple of months since I have changed my nutritional habits by eating fruits and raw cooked vegetables. I'm looking forward to reading you ASAP. Thank you very much, my friend. Listen, 100% raw, nothing cooked whatsoever, my dear man. And I would definitely do 100% fruits and berries at the very least. If you want to add melons, add melons. I would definitely get into upper circuit brain and nerve formulas. If you have no tumors, I get an upper circuit, lower circulation, brain and nerve. All right, now, on top of that, I'm going after the kidneys. I'm going after the adrenal glands. I'm going after the whole endocrine gland system. So go to my protocol video, and that's where I'm going to go. And you'll see a neurological protocol there. Or get hooked with someone here to write you a protocol, or have me write you one. I still do those 14-week protocols for you guys. And let me write you a protocol, whatever you want to do. But get yourself on 100% fruits and berries and melons. Don't even mess with vegetables. If it was just muscular or skeletal, okay, but it's neural, and that's fruits, berries, and melons. Or there's a hard way to go if you don't. You're bringing electricity in because you're losing electrical, and you can't. The muscles need everybody needs electricity. Everybody needs the lights on in your body, and when they don't get it, they start to fail. And that failing starts mutation, especially when it's living in an acidic medium and the blowback is inflammation. It greatly alters structure. And that's what you see in cancer cells and everything else. You see the altered structure, you see the body's immune response to that, trying to protect it. You see all of that, if you have eyes to see. That's where I would go, my dear man. And head into it. Get yourself well. I love you guys. Thanks for putting up with this old guy and listening to these videos. Can't believe you guys listen to all these videos, but you can see the vitalness of understanding truth. Sometimes I get a little into the spiritual side, I know, but I love that side as well. Treat yourselves. Treat yourselves to happiness, joy, ecstasy, excitement. Feel good in the body again. Get yourself away from the acid. Get into the alkaline. Heal yourself. Regenerate the physical body. Stop thinking. Stop desiring things. Enjoy the now for a while. It's one thing to get yourself something or you want to get the, but don't chase it all the time. Because if you look at your whole life, you have an energetic chain to everything you own. The more you own, the less free you are. Ask yourself why they put Buddha and Jesus into the poverty consciousness for. What does that reflect to you when you see that? Freedom. The gig is, anybody can sit in a cave and meditate and be free. That's to you yoga guys. But the challenge to you guys, can you pull yourself out of the cave, walk in the mainstream of man, and teach them truth, and keep your consciousness? That's where the trial is. Walk right into the battle and keep your awareness and help win the battle. That is my submit to some of you yoga guys. Help this planet. Teach them the ways of the inner side. Love you guys. Remember, you got to go in to get out. Try the day. Try the day not thinking, just observing. No thought, no opinion, no desire. Just be. And you'll be happy and full of joy. And for you guys that are like this lady, you got to dig in and you got to do it. You got to push through some of this stuff. And there's a lot of buffering things you can do, like sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, very alkalizing. There's a lot of things you can do, like sipping the teas and things to help you through these things. But you got to get through them. And when you get into the chronic levels of lymph stagnation, there's absolutely nothing fun about it. Absolutely nothing fun about it. But there's remedy and there's joy on the other side. So whatever you go through the day, know tomorrow's a better day. And you just keep pushing yourself and pushing yourself through this, knowing what you're doing. Don't follow this blindly. I never ask that. Follow this with wisdom and understanding. Understand what we're talking about here. Look at it. Google the lymph system. See what you can find out there on it. Hardly anything. And when you understand that, that's the acid system, and that's what man's suffering with, and now you know why, because no one understands the system, or what feeds it, and what hurts them. You know, it's funny, we're in the 21st century, yet we don't even know it's our foods that's killing us. Special interest group, pretty powerful.
Yes.
You beauty!
Well, I say, love you guys.